folks, welcome back. So what I'm going to do in this video is show you some work. It's been a snowy day in where I live, and I got a couple days before I got my next kitchen to do, so I thought I'd pull this thing out and do a little bit of work to it and make it so that it's actually good and usable. I did try doing some sanding with that wrench. If you've seen my other videos, been following, but it was no fun pushing that through with that wrench. And the other thing too is by having the wrench, what it does is it's like pushing anything through the router or anything else. If you stop for just a second, then that drum would dig in. So I don't know how these fellows that make a drum sander without a power feeder are getting a good job, because it has to be a steady feed in order for it not to take and cut a little bit deeper, because there's always a little bit of pressure against the drum, and you know, no matter, you can run it through usually 2 or 3 times before it'll stop doing any sanding. And my big drum sander is the exact same way, so it's not just this machine in particular. So that was the trouble I was having. If I was using the wrench, if I stopped for just a second, then I'd have a little mark where the drum dug in, and then I'd have to continue sanding. But with the power feeder, I don't have that problem. It just pulls it through every time, and as long as I don't take too big a pass, I'm not having any trouble at all. So the other thing I did to this thing was I built a base here, and I actually just took a couple of pieces of round MDF there and put a bolt through it. So now it's kind of like it's on some rollers there, so I can actually, you know, if I want to, I can pick this up and roll it around and move it. And I got a spot in my shop where I'm actually going to keep it, because I do plan on using this thing. I'm not just making it for something to do. It is fun, but I do plan on using it as well. So that's why I'm making it, that's why I geared up this power feeder. So if you guys are just finding my videos, you know, this thing is literally made from scrap wood. There's this wood-colored melamine. I did a big job a while back, and that's what the job was made out of. And I just had 2 or 3 sheets here that were just laying around forever. And once it sits so long, it's only really good for a project like this, because melamine has a tendency to swell a little bit. Then I wouldn't use it on kitchen cabinets because the consistency's not there. But for something like this, it's a good way to use it up. So what I'll do now is I'll grab the camera. I got a little guard built over the feeder that I made here, and I'll take the guard off and show you how I made the feeder. It's pretty simple. Use a little bit of duct tape and ingenuity, and makes it cheap. So I'll grab the camera now and pull you in and let you have a look. So all I got to do to take this guard off is just to loosen these 2 screws off, and that'll allow this top piece to come off. And then that'll allow you to see the guts of this thing. So it's nothing fancy. It's made out of the simplest parts I could possibly get my hands on. And that's just wooden pulleys, which I made on my table saw, and duct tape belts, just made by using a block of wood. And I've got some videos showing how I made that. So the way that this works, I'll just grab the camera here and bring you in and show you. The way that this actually works is, you can see, so the power comes in from my drill, runs down to this big pulley, and that big pulley has a little pulley hooked to it, and then I've got another belt that runs back to a big pulley, so that's a speed reduction, and then that big pulley has a little pulley hooked to the side of it, which runs back to another big pulley, which has another one hooked to it, which runs back to this big pulley, and then that big one actually has a little sprocket hooked to the side of it, and then that runs up and hooks into my feed rollers. So the reason why I had to use chain on this last stage was because that roller is actually spring loaded. That's my feed roller. So when the material goes underneath, that would have to lift a little bit. Well, if it was a belt, then it would change position, and would be hard to keep a belt tight. Whereas a chain, I can run it a little bit loose and it doesn't slip. With the belts, the way that I'm actually getting these to go tight is these are 2 separate units here, and then all I do is I've got these 2 bolts here that I can tighten up. They're threaded into the wood, so tighten them up. That would pull back on this, which would separate that and make these belts. You know, I've got them running just zinging tight. These belts are, you know, I think they're about, I probably went around the block about 10 times or something like that with the duct tape. And I'll tell you, like, it's strong. I've got a lot of tension on this to hold it nice and tight, and it's not slipping a little bit. I did spray it. Once I had this unit running, I just sprayed it. I've got some spray adhesive around here, and I sprayed the underside of these wooden pulleys with it to make them a little bit sticky. And once I spray them once, it seems like it stays forever on anything else I've tried it with. So real happy with the way this little feeder is working. It's not pretty on the side of it. It adds a little bit of weight to it, but now that I've got these little wheels on the bottom of it, I can wheel this thing around and just wheel it over in the corner of the shop, and now I'll actually be able to use it too. So what I'll do now is I'll start this up, let you have a little view of this thing actually running, and then I'm going to set up and do some sanding and show you how it's working. She ain't pretty, but will she ever go? So hopefully you guys are having fun. Hopefully you keep tuning in, and I thank you for watching this video.